You're an asshole with a fucking circle.
Hey, what is up guys, my name is Luis. Today we're looking at the top 3 shotguns in Warzone for the Season 5. Shotguns are heavily underrated as most people don't ever touch them besides what they can pick up from the ground loot. The TTK potential of some of the shotguns are actually pretty insane, and with how easy they are to use, you should definitely try them out. Today we're going to compare the top 3 shotguns in Warzone at the moment to find out which one of these are actually the best. I'll show you a complete comparison with stats, best attachments, spray patterns and much more. If this is your first time here, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button as I make tips and tricks in Warzone and much more. First up, let's look at some numbers. I have picked the Gallo, Street Sweeper and Jack 12 as these are the most used shotguns at the moment. So for the sake of the comparison, all of these numbers are with the stock weapons with no attachments. Range is very important when we talk about shotguns, and for the sake of the comparison, we're looking at the TTK and the range at that 3 shot to kill. Of course, if you're right up on your enemy at let's say a half a meter, you could very well down that player with only 1 shot. So the Gallo comes in at maximum range at 8.1 meters and the Jack 12 comes in at 7.1 meters. And after the nerf with the Street Sweeper, it has pretty sorry looking damage now at only 5.8 meters. So for the TTKs, the Gallo then comes in at 517 milliseconds, or if you use the increased fire rate barrel, you're looking at the TTK of 451 milliseconds. The Jack 12 comes in at 400 milliseconds, and finally the Street Sweeper comes in at 400 milliseconds as well. But you have the option on the Street Sweeper to have that higher fire rate barrel as well, making the TTK go to 367 milliseconds. To test the damage and range of all these weapons, I go into Warzone training mode and I shoot the bots at different distances and look at the damage output. As I collect all the numbers and ranges, this will give us a pretty good idea of the TTK, damage and range of all the weapons. So for both the Jack 12 and Street Sweeper, after the 3 shot kill range, the shots to kill goes to 5, giving us a TTK of the Jack 12 at around 800 milliseconds, and the Street Sweeper goes up to 800 milliseconds as well. And if you have that faster firing barrel, you're looking at the TTK of 734 milliseconds. But for the Gallo, we're only looking at 4 shots to kill, bringing the TTK to 776 milliseconds or 677 milliseconds with the faster fire rate barrel. So that means that the Gallo can kill faster than the Jack 12 after the 3 shot kill range. So you might see that the Street Sweeper has pretty decent TTK compared to both the Gallo and Jack 12 with the fast firing barrel, but it is very important to note that the range of the Street Sweeper after the nerf is so poor at only 5.8 meters that you're likely getting that higher TTK after all, as 5.8 meters is a very short range. Let's move on to the mobility of these weapons. So I've put together a little test here where you can see the movement speed of each weapon, and I'm going to show you how I test weapons and obtain these numbers. So to test the movement speed, we are using the weapons all kitted out to get a good comparison, as the stock weapon movement speed does not really matter all that much, as we want to see what the movement speed is when we get all the attachments on the weapons. So I stand at this spot here and I ping this rock that is 56 meters away. I make sure that I stand exactly at the same spot to get the most accurate measurements. We then go into the software here where I count the frames from my character starts moving all the way over to the rock. So the Street Sweeper ended up at 737 frames, Jack 12 ends up at 814 frames and the Gallo at 695 frames. When we do the math, we get the final numbers, and the Street Sweeper comes in at 4.55 meters per second movement speed, the Jack 12 comes in at 4.12 meters per second, and finally the Gallo comes in at 4.83 meters per second. So as you can see from this simple test, the Gallo has a huge advantage over the other two when it comes to movement speed. Let's take a look at the recoil for both hipfire and when ADSing. Note that I stood 5 meters from the wall with all the weapons. The Street Sweeper has definitely the widest spray pattern when ADSing, but if you look at both patterns, there's really not a huge difference when ADSing and when using hipfire. Looking at the Gallo, this is definitely the most spread when hipfiring out of these 3 weapons, and note how much tighter the spread is when ADSing. So when using the Gallo, ADSing can be very helpful if you want to be pinpoint accurate at that 8 to 9 meter range. Finally, we have the Jack 12, much tighter spread on both the hipfire and when ADSing, and all in all a very nice spray pattern for both hipfire and when ADSing. Spray patterns for shotguns is going to be pretty much the same across the board, but as you can see there are always some small differences between each weapon. Let's take a look at the reload speed as well. As you can see, the Gallo and the Street Sweeper has a significant reload speed if you choose to reload the whole magazine. But as with the Jak 12, you actually have a clip that you change out, making the reload speed very fast compared to the other two weapons. You can always abort full reload by pressing the fire trigger if you need to. Let's look at the best attachments for all these weapons. For the Gallo, we take the Agency Choke, Reinforced Heavy Barrel, Ember Sighting Point, No Stock and 12 round mag. By using the Reinforced Heavy Barrel and Ember Sighting Point, we have 22% more range and even better TTK. This class gives you 3-shot kill up to 10 meters and amazing TTK of 451 milliseconds. For the Jak 12, we take the Force Tack muzzle attachments, Torrent Barrel, 5mW laser for that increase in hipfire area, 20 round mag and stipple grip tape. For the Street Sweeper, we take the Agency Choke, Reinforced Barrel, Ember Sighting Point, No Stock and 18 round mag. Let's jump into the conclusion and results of all these weapons. So for the Gallo, it provides a faster practical TTK overall with that 4-shot to kill and competitive 3-shot to kill TTK. The reason I would say the Gallo wins in the damage category is mainly because of that 4-shot to kill opposed to the potential 5-shot to kill with both the Jak 12 and the Street Sweeper. When it comes to range, the Gallo has the best range out of these weapons, coming in at 8.1 meters, so the Gallo takes this one as well. When it comes to movement speed, as we saw previously, the Gallo absolutely destroys the Jak 12 and the Street Sweeper, coming in at 4.83 meters per second. The Jak 12 comes in last at 4.12 meters per second, which is painfully slow. That movement speed is comparable to LMGs and rocket launchers. Finally, the spray pattern. In my opinion, the Jak 12 is really the best. It has a tight spread both when hip firing and ADSing, and also with that fast reload speed. Compared to the others, the Jak 12 really shines here, but even with all this, the movement speed is pretty bad and the TTK is not the best. So overall, you can see that the Gallo has the best stats in most categories, and for me, the TTK potential and movement speed really makes the choice easy. So that is it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button as it helps me out a ton, and as always, I will see you legends in the next one.